All right, so trademark or copyright, trademark or copyright. You don't know which one you need to legally protect your brand. Well, let's sit down and chat about it. I'm Vander, an attorney turned entrepreneur who helps online coaches and service providers legally protect and grow their online businesses using my DIY legal templates and my Ultimate Bundle program. And here on YouTube, each week I drop a brand new video for you containing a legal tip or some way to help you legally grow your online business without losing your mind or doing what everybody else is doing on Instagram. So if you're new around here, welcome. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, and make sure that you hear about every single new video I put out each week on YouTube. So in today's video, we'll learn what a trademark is, what a copyright is, how to tell the difference, and maybe how to figure out which one that you need. So let's get started. Trademark or copyright? Trademark or copyright? The age-old question that no one's asking. So first, I think we just have to understand what a copyright is and what a trademark is, and then we'll be able to pretty clearly tell the difference. Let's talk trademarks. Trademark in America is a type of intellectual property that covers things like phrases, words, taglines, titles, course titles, right? For you, if you're a coach or something, it might be a program title, the name of your business, things like symbols and logos, even certain sounds, right? So trademarks are just a type of intellectual property that covers those kinds of things. And it specifically covers you for those kinds of things that identify your goods or services. So really the point of a trademark is that we're supposed to be saying that this symbol or this word or this phrase is so synonymous with our good or our service or our business that we need to have brand recognizability, and we need people to know when they see something that it's ours. So the example I always like to give is the Nike swoosh, that you know when you see that swoosh that it is a Nike symbol, it's a Nike product, which is why it's so important that only, Nike original products can have that swoosh on it and not just any sneaker company could throw the swoosh on it. It is so important to their brand, to their recognizability, and to the identification of their goods, right? Their shoes or their clothing, that we want to make sure that people know that swoosh belongs to Nike. Now, one of the biggest misconceptions is that when you get a trademark on something that you own it for the whole universe, for everything, you block people from ever being able to even utter that phrase or something like that. So I'm being dramatic, but a lot of people think that they get more coverage than they really do with a trademark. But when you register a trademark for, let's say, a phrase or the title of your course, you only get legal protection for what we call class, the type of the way essentially, and the type of information, the way that you're sharing that course. So let's say you had a course teaching people about bar fitness, right? And you filed for a trademark for the name of your course. Well, you would only get coverage for an online course that taught about bar fitness. It's not like you can block somebody from ever using that phrase ever again in other ways for other goods and services. Now, you've probably seen a couple of symbols out there, and you might have even seen the emojis if you have an iPhone, but there are a few different phrases or symbols that go along with the trademark. So there's TM, there's SM, and then there's R with the circle around it. So let's start at the top. TM stands for trademark, but it just signifies to someone that you are asserting your common law rights to that trademark, right? To that thing that you are saying you have ownership in. And so we do have inherent what we call common law rights within something that we create. There is a formal registration process, which gives us a different symbol, which I'll tell you in a sec, but anybody can use the TM, even if they haven't registered a trademark, as long as the thing that they are asserting is actually theirs. That would be helpful. But you make sure that it's your original work and it's something that you're asserting that you have common law trademark rights in, right? So you'll often see this after people's phrases or logos or titles if they either don't plan to register at all, or if they've already filed for registration, but they haven't heard back yet because the process takes a very long time. You'll also see the SM symbol, which stands for service mark, which is a type of trademark signifying that you're providing a service. And that's another one where you are allowed to use the SM symbol for something regarding a service. That doesn't require registration either in order to use the SM. So you can use the TM or the SM, even if you haven't filed to register your trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Last but definitely not least, we have the R with the circle around it. That stands for registered trademark. So that symbol can only be used by people who have actually gone through the process with the United States Patent and Trademark Office, otherwise known as the USPTO. If they've gone through that process and they've gotten approved and their trademark is active, they can use that symbol, but they can only use it for the class, that type of protection that they actually got registered for. Now, it's a big no-no to use the R with the circle around it if you haven't actually registered that trademark. I see people doing this all the time on Instagram and I'm like, oh, don't let me see this because it's really bad. You don't want to do that. It could hinder your ability to get registered in the future if somebody provides them with some evidence or you submit. I had one time a customer who had submitted a picture of her, a sample of her trademark with the R with the circle around it when she hadn't even applied to register yet. So not a good move. Don't do that. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, so do I have to register for trademark protection, or did you just tell me that I don't have to register because I get common law protection? So yes, it's true that you get common law protection, and that does afford you for some benefits, right? It especially helps you as long as you can prove that you've actually been using your trademark in that geographic region where you go to try to assert it, right? So if you find out someone in California is using the same name or something as your program that you assert you have a trademark, a common law trademark right in, and you've been advertising your services there, then maybe you have a shot at that, right? But it's a little sticky, it's very difficult, and it's very hard to put people on notice if you haven't registered your trademark. So although you're not required, and although you do get some protection without registering your trademark, you get a lot of protection when you do register your trademark through the United States Patent and Trademark Office's application process. I think one of the biggest benefits to registering your trademark with the United States Patent and Trademark Office is that you actually get to put other people on notice pretty easily, because when somebody else is going out to start, let's say their own course and they're thinking of naming it a certain name and they type that into the trademark database search, they're going to see your trademark come up, right? So that's a great way to put people on notice that they can't use it. Otherwise, you're relying on people doing a really thorough Google search, maybe looking at social media or Amazon, which I suggest that everybody does anyway, but people might not. And so it's a great way to just easily put people on notice. It's also a great way to put their attorney on notice. If they ask someone to go file a trademark for them, the attorney's going to come back and say to them, hey, there's already a mark filed under a very similar or the same name. You also get legal presumption that you own the mark, which is a big deal, legally speaking. And also legally speaking, you get to file any sort of trademark infringement action in federal court, which gets you access to a whole load of great things, including additional damages. So registering your trademark is a great thing to do. It has many benefits. I always struggle with this a little bit in terms of what to suggest to people. I mean, I don't give anybody personal advice, but I always want to balance this kind of information with, the fact that you can also register for backdated, coverage, but that doesn't really help you if somebody else tries to use it or file for it in the meantime. I also just think that sometimes for new business owners, they get a little too hung up on whether or not they should trademark something when they haven't even really started their business, right? So I wouldn't personally, I'm just speaking from my own perspective. Personally, I would have never, and I did not register my logo, let's say my first logo. I don't even know what my first logo looked like. Maybe we can find it. I don't know what it looked like. It definitely doesn't look like my logo now. And since the average time for approval on an application is at least 15 to 18 months, yeah, I would have not even had the same logo by the time I got approved. So I'm always a little balanced here, where I will tell you that on the one hand, people do get way too caught up in this and they try to register things really early and they let it hold them back in their business. And on the other hand, I have seen people who've waited too long and they've not registered something because they didn't think it was ever going to be popular enough or something like that. And then that came back to bite them. So it really is a balance. I would say that, for me personally, I would get up and running, I would get my business started. And if I was sure that my program, my offer was going to be good, I actually had some proof, some proof of concept at that point, that people wanted to buy it, that people liked it, that the name made sense. And I knew I was going to go all in on that course or program or product name or whatever, that's probably something I would move forward with. But that's just me. You have to decide what's right for you. Like everything in life, it's just a risk assessment, right? So you could do this and you run the risk of it being a waste of your time and money. And you could wait on it and you run the risk of maybe somebody else starting, a program with the same name. So there's always risk involved. And that's why I think anybody who tells you you should absolutely register or absolutely not register is wrong, because it's very much in the middle and it really depends on you, what you're doing, how far along you are, how much time and money you want to spend, all of that kind of stuff. More than anything, the best tip I can give you is if you're not sure, go and set up an appointment with an intellectual property attorney who can look at the thing that you want to trademark in the first place, make sure it's even available or would potentially qualify for a trademark. Sometimes people will bring this to an attorney and it's generic or descriptive and it won't even pass muster with the USPTO. So I would say to book an appointment, sit down with them, find out if you even have something to register. And once you tell the attorney, hey, I haven't even started my business yet, but I want to register my logo, see what they have to say about the importance of that, right? So I would seek professional advice whenever in doubt. All right, let's talk copyrights. No disrespect to copyrights, but I don't love them as much as I love trademarks. But copyrights are just another form of intellectual property, and they protect the original works that an author creates in a tangible medium of expression. I remember learning that in law school and being like, what the did you say? That doesn't even make any sense. Tangible medium of expression. If that tells you anything about my 3 years in law school. So what that essentially means is that you are, my friend, are an author the moment that you create something, right? So the moment that you take that photograph and that photograph saves to your phone, or the moment you create this video and you upload it to your computer, you have created something and you are the author of it. And you have now fixed it in a tangible medium of expression simply because that thing now essentially exists, right? So pretty much you can assume that you are the author of something once you've originally created something. If you've written something, taken a picture, you filmed a video, sang an original song, you are the author and you have fixed it in a tangible medium of expression. But some examples that I can give you of copyrights are things like paintings, books, music, lyrics, movies, videos, your course materials. So when you create a course, all of the videos and the handouts and all the written materials that are inside of that course are copyright, right? So that's protected by copyright, not by trademarks. The name of your course or the logo for your course, that would be protected by trademark. So similar to trademarks, when you create something as the author and you fix it in a tangible medium of expression, then you are inherently given copyright protection and rights within that work, right? So you do get a decent amount of protection just by creating something. Now, of course, it always helps to make sure that you include the copyright, what I call formula, on the bottom of any sort of handouts, PDFs, course videos, course materials, your website, anything like that. You want to put the C with the circle around it, the copyright symbol. You can use that even without registering, followed by the year that you first produced or published this work, followed by the name of the author or the owner of that work. So for me, it would say copyright symbol 2022, Sam Vander Wielen LLC, right? So very simple. You can put that on everything that you create just to be safe. You don't need to register in order to use that. However, just like trademarks, that is not in and of itself the most amount of protection that you can get for your work. The best and absolute protection you can get for your work is by, drumroll please, registering it with the Copyright Office. The U.S. Copyright Office handles all registrations for copyright in America. It's a form and a fee, of course, and you file it with an example of your work, and then you get that copyright in your work. That is worth its weight in gold. So that is very important, but I'm also, again, back to this balance conversation, I am very realistic to say that, we produce a lot of content. I have never produced so much content in my entire life. I never thought that I would produce this much content. I didn't know a human could produce this much content, but I do. And so if I had to send every single blog post and social media post and YouTube video and yada, yada, yada away for copyright protection, I would basically have to create an entire separate department of my business, and that's all that we would do, right? So for me personally, that's not realistic. And there are other tools that we get as modes of protection that don't necessarily make it so that we have to do that. Like on YouTube or on Instagram, if somebody does copy or steal your caption, your photo, your video, there are ways that we can get that stuff taken down, right? I personally would be more concerned with the stuff that's your bread and butter, like inside of your courses, or obviously if you wrote a book, or if you wrote a beautiful song, or you filmed a beautiful video. I would be more concerned with that kind of stuff than I would the day-to-day content, just because I think it's impossible to keep up with it, and there are other means of taking these things down. This is what Hudson thinks about people who steal copyrights. What do you think, Buggy? Oh, I can't with you today. You're so cute. He's so stinking cute. He's very distracting when you're trying to film a YouTube video. Okay, back to serious business. So registration for a copyright, however, is required for a lawsuit again. So in federal court, if you want to sue somebody for infringement of your copyright, you need to have that stuff registered. So there are times where it's important, but kind of back to my balance conversation, you're probably not going to want to end up in court for somebody stealing your Instagram caption. That would be a little extreme, and spoiler alert, it happens all the time. So you'd be in court a lot, and other spoiler alert, you'd be broke because it's super expensive to sue people. All kidding aside, those are the biggest differences between a copyright and a trademark. Hopefully I've simply broken this down so that you understand very clearly now what a copyright is, what a trademark is, and really what the pros and cons are a little bit of registering them and the benefits that you do get from registering each. Don't get me wrong, you definitely get benefits from registration for either one. I'm just also understanding that it's not necessarily doable for every single entrepreneur out there, and it doesn't always make sense for all business owners. So I would talk to an intellectual property attorney near you, get some good advice about whatever it is that you want to register, whether it's worth it, when you should do it. Ask how much it's going to cost, ask them what they charge, what their hourly rate is. And if it makes sense for you and you want to do it, go for it. Register that stuff and get your intellectual property protected. So if you're a bit concerned about some of the more day-to-day content and keeping copycats off of your stuff like Instagram or your YouTube videos or your podcast episodes, I want to invite you to check out my free legal workshop, 5 Steps to Legally Protect and Grow Your Online Business, because in those 5 steps, one of the 5 I teach you is how to keep copycats off of your content online. So you can click the link in the description of this video to watch my free legal workshop right now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.